Fog or fire? A short Dvar Torah for Parashat Ekev. Few things I can think of are more complex than perspectives. For example, how did the Industrial Revolution affect the world? It depends on whom you ask. The economist will be interested in the economic implications. The scientist will research the technological breakthroughs and what they enabled. The sociologist will address the class differences that were created or reduced. The religious leader will be shocked by the secularization. The family will mourn the gap created between different parts of the family due to expanding urbanization, or alternatively, be grateful for the opportunity to distance themselves from the mother-in-law. In any case, it all depends on the perspective. It's hard to read the first chapters of Sefer Dvarim without similar thoughts. The differences between the description of the events in the earlier books of the Torah and the description in Dvarim invite the learner to compare and contrast. The case I want to focus on is a harrowing part of history of the Jewish people. The inconceivable gap between the heights reached at Mount Sinai and the depth they plunged into in the following great fall in the sin of the golden calf. Actually, I take that back. I want to focus on one word in a harrowing part of history, etc. Before understanding which word interested me, close your eyes and try to imagine the scene at Mount Sinai. What pyrotechnic means does the Holy One, blessed be He, use to create the mood? If you answered smoke, clouds, mist, and voices, you're in good company, or at least in my company. That's how I imagined the situation, mainly because that's how I read the verses. On the morning of the third day, there was thunder, lightning, with a thick cloud over the mountains and a very loud trumpet blast. Mount Sinai was covered with smoke because Hashem descended on it in a fire. The smoke billowed up from it like smoke from a furnace, and the whole mountain trembled violently. As the sound of the trumpet grew louder and louder, Moshe spoke, and the voice of God answered him loudly. Who then disagrees with this description? Moshe. In our Parashat, Moshe describes the event at Har Sinai without the smoke, cloud, or mist. There's a voice, but not in the sense of a trumpet sound, but the sense of, and you did not listen to his voice. What does Moshe mention a lot? A word we barely paid any attention to, the word fire. Hashem spoke from within this fire. Moshe descended while the mountain was still on fire. And when Moshe returned to carve the second tablets, Hashem told him to write the words which Hashem spoke to you on the mountain from the midst of the fire. Let me clarify. It's not that there's no fire in the description in Parashat Yitro. It's just that it's swallowed up among the voices, which appear 6 times, the smoke 4, cloud twice, thick darkness once, and mist another one, which are mostly synonymous with the same phenomenon. Fire, on the other hand, appears in Parashat Yitro only once, apart from the punishment stage where Moshe burns the calf in fire. All that remains now is to understand where the difference stems from. The commentators addressed half the question, especially in verse 15, where Moshe's descent from the mountain is described with the fire in the background. Abarbanel argues that the purpose is to emphasize the audacity required to erect the golden calf. The fire that symbolized Hashem's presence, for Hashem your God is a consuming fire, still burned on the mountains, and you made a calf. The Netziv, on the other hand, argues that as long as the fire could be seen, the people had no reason to fear that Moshe wouldn't return. The meeting with Hashem was still in progress. But as I said, in my opinion, these interpretations answered only half the question. They explain the emphasized presence of fire, but ignore the absence of voices and smoke. That's why I want to return to perspectives. Parashat Ekev is described from Moshe's point of view, he who entered into the cloud. He doesn't see thick darkness, clouds, smoke, and mist because he's inside them. He sees the fire. That's what he expects. This is how Malach Hashem appeared to him at the burning bush. In other words, Hashem reveals himself to Moshe in fire from within the midst. The people's experience in Parashat Yitro is described differently. The people mainly see voices, smoke, and mist from the outside, a bit like my experience at a secular wedding when I'm not wearing my glasses. The loud music, mist, and disco lights always leave me confused and lost. It is indeed a revelation, but it's a veiled revelation, a revelation of a voice beyond the smoke screen. Perhaps this insight explains why the children of Israel sin specifically with the calf. When the people turn to Aaron, they ask him to make them a god that will go before us, something that can be pointed to as they say, "These are your gods, O Israel." The solution? throw gold into the fire, and the egel, the calf, is created. Maybe because the fire reveals megale, and the calf, egel, has a gimel and lamed, although outside the world of drash, this is no longer considered acceptable evidence, there is some kind of connection between egel and gilui. The problem is that the calf did the opposite of what it was meant to. It wasn't just an egel, but it was an egel masecha, a egel that covers. It didn't remove the veil, it added to it. Which of these two perspectives is correct? Moshe's experience of revelation or the people's veiling? I'm not sure that's the right question. Maybe, like on the road, we don't need to be correct, but wise. I, in any case, am neither correct nor wise. I'm just Jovi Holtz, one who loves Tanakh. לעילוי נשמת תלמידי האהוב והגיבור עמיחי שמעון בן ישי ולבתיה רובין, השם ייקום דמו.